So, you've heard from them, and that little fly that sat upon Pence's head. Now what? You vote! Hey friends, this is Lei from the Rock Creek Multicultural Center, giving you episode 2 of Rock Creek Real Talk. Thank you for those who joined us on episode 1. It means a lot. And thank you for being here for episode 2. So once again, Rock Creek Real Talk is a segment where the student leaders and I will be discussing some hard-hitting topics or recent events with you guys, and whether it be on racial justice, climate change, we plan to sit down and have a real talk. So hopefully you all enjoy this episode and the episodes to come. Make sure you leave your input in the comments, like, share, and all that jazz. Alright, now let's get into the jazz that has been stirring up the nation. The 2020 election. Over the last month, the presidential and vice presidential debates took place, the last one being between Biden and Trump on the 22nd. In the midst of the pandemic, Black Lives Matter protests, and 2020 in general, the wait to see who will be in the Oval Office this November is maddening. Maddening? That's a word, right? To help you all out in this anxious waiting, I wanted to discuss and spill some tea on this subject, starting with the debates. Voting for the right candidate can be tough. Or is it? But that's why candidates utilize campaigning to lure you in, whether that be in TV commercials, rallies, or some sketchy YouTube advertisement. Presidential and vice presidential debates are the iconic way to reel in those votes as the candidates get to express their thoughts and feelings towards various issues of the nation. So, why don't we talk about some of the things that happen during these debates? Usually, there are 3 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate. However, due to Trump testing positive just a few days before the second one, that debate was canceled. But do not fret. Though we have only seen the first and third presidential debates, we have heard plenty from both candidates. Plenty. On September 29th, the candidates met for their first presidential debate, which was moderated by Fox News anchor Chris Wallace, who really didn't know what he was getting himself into.
Sir,
with $1 billion, if you
that is absolutely not true.
In this 90-minute session, the topics range from the Supreme Court nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, plans to take on COVID-19, climate change, the economy, race in America, and more. But let me tell you, it was pretty hard to get a clear answer out of each of the candidates because of the constant
Court. Well,
there's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
and
just
you don't
be quiet
know
for
her.
a minute?
Seen you last night, first in your class. Probably a big thing. That was the worst part of Obama.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obama.
People know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question because the question is
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
The first and only vice presidential debate on October 7th was moderated by journalist and biographer Susan Page. And the last presidential debate, which was once again last week on the 22nd, was moderated by Kristen Welker, co-news anchor and White House correspondent. Thankfully, she kept these candidates on track. Over these 3 sessions, here are some of the highlights. Mentioned in both presidential debates, President Trump explained that the vaccine for COVID-19 will be released very soon. In the third debate, Trump stated, "We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks." Along with this, the president mentioned the usage of the military as part of the distribution process for the vaccine. At that point, the US hit around 220,000 deaths due to the coronavirus. And with this, Biden replied, "Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as president of the United States of America." As part of Biden's plan, he stated in the third debate that he would make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move into the direction of rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and businesses so they can be safe and give them the financial resources to do that. Moving on to the vice presidential debate, one of the iconic moments between Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence was within the topic of healthcare. Due to Trump's effort to take apart the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare plans, Harris declared this: "If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you." In response to this, Pence spoke of the Trump administration's ongoing attempt to issue a comprehensive healthcare plan, but we haven't seen anything yet. In the topic of race in America, in the first presidential debate, Wallace emphasized on Trump's approving recognition of militia and white supremacist groups, asking if he would condemn these and white supremacy overall. Further avoiding an explicit declaration of the condemnation of white supremacy, Biden mentioned the Proud Boys. The president then said, "Proud Boys, stand back and stand by, but I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem." The constant dodging of this question became a nod to the Proud Boys as the organization took Trump's words as a presidential endorsement. According to Adam Gabbett of The Guardian, they quickly offered for sale t-shirts with the motif "standing by." While Biden was paying tribute to his late son, Beau, Trump interrupted and targeted Biden's other son, Hunter, and his financial deals along with his drug use while in the military. As the president pushed to expose Hunter's past, Biden said, "My son, like a lot of people you know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it, he's fixed it, he's worked on it. I'm proud of my son." To round out these highlights, probably the most unfortunately memorable moment of the debates was Trump's response to the topic of race in America. In the last debate, after Welker touches base on Trump's racist rhetoric in the past and how this may contribute to the racism building up in this country, the president responds with this: "I am the least racist person in this room." I'm sorry. After watching these three debates and seeing all of the tea spilled, I had tons of questions going on in my head. Is there a plan for COVID-19 or not? Why does Trump want the military to distribute the vaccines? How screwed up will this next year be? Was the fly on Pence's head a sign? Maybe. In all honesty, this is my first time voting for a president of the United States and thoroughly watching debates. So I wanted to go to someone more experienced and wanted to see what their reactions were.
So my reaction to the debate was pretty simple. I voted. I think after watching what they had to say the first time, and just with the last 4 years, it was pretty clear where we need to go with this country. So I kept it simple. I took my ballot. Luckily here in Oregon, we get it by mail. So grabbed it, dropped it off at the ballot box, did my duty. Hopefully y'all are getting out there and voting too. If you can't vote, get onto those streets, let your voices be heard. We got each other's backs, so we got to be there for each other.
Thanks, Eder. Now with the stress and worry building up inside me, I knew exactly what I had to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did my thing. I voted. But the real question is, why does voting matter? Why is it so important? Well, it doesn't just determine our president. There are so many reasons that this duty is crucial to our country, but if I were to narrow it down, voting is important because the people we elect will make decisions that will affect us. It is important because the measures we choose to be carried or not carried out will also affect us. It is important because, at the end of the day, we are the ones choosing the future for America. So we should do our part and vote. Wow, that felt really good to say. But seriously, go vote. Now, it is way after most of the voting deadlines, but as of today, October 30th, just 4 days before Election Day, if you still have your ballot with you, submit it at a ballot drop box. If you submit it through the mail, your vote may not be counted. And for those of you who don't have the ability to vote, no worries, I gotcha. So here are some things that you can do to contribute to the change you want to see. First off, get people who are eligible to vote to vote. Encourage them to get registered if they aren't already, remind them of voting deadlines, and help them understand who the candidates are or what measures mean. Secondly, donate or volunteer in nonprofit organizations. If you'd like to make a difference in something specific like climate change or anti-racist movements, you can do so as well. And lastly, continue to keep the conversation going. From voting to the issues in our nation, you can strike the change just by spreading the word. With all of that said, I realize the real tea in the 2020 election isn't the drama between the candidates, the feuding among the American people, or the actual tea I spilled while watching the debate. No! Is this fine for tonight's debate? The thing is, it is purely within us and our decision to vote, advocate, donate, or do whatever we have to do to add to the change we want to see in our lives. Thank you for joining me on this second episode of Rock Creek Real Talk. I really hope you all enjoyed that. And make sure you watch out for next week's episode, which will be on our Instagram Live. Follow us on Instagram at Rock Creek MC, our Facebook at MC Rock Creek, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you soon!